All right, we're here with the emergency podcast, Ohanacast, of the first ban list of Hiram, the Rat, Flavorsham, and Fortisphere.
R.I.P. the
And
realist. So, I mean, we just talk about like immediate impressions because, like, obviously we're a little bit later in the day from the announcement. I think first impressions were I kind of expected it. I literally said at locals yesterday, I was playing against discard, and I was like down to like one card in hand, and I was like, I'm not worried. I'm just gonna draw the Hiram right here off the top, pop this popsicle, and then I come back and win the game. And then I Hiram pop, drew six drop Toa pop, and I was like, it's game over now. I just win. Like the synergy between Hiram drawing two, popping your popsicles, and six drop Tamatoa was absurd. So yeah, it was inevitability. I think in, for myself, Fortisphere makes sense because I didn't want him to hit Hiram and Popsicle because it just destroys blue decks in general. Uh, I
I
thought
like
like
that.
uh, I was
Yeah.
like, if they hit Popsicle as well, it's just like literally blue just has like no draw engine besides Chicha, and that's not sustainable. That would just put the color back to where it was in like set two, where it was literally unplayable because ramping did nothing. So it's like cool, I can ramp and have nothing to do now. Uh, so I think Fortisphere was a good hit just because Blue Steel didn't need 8 ways to draw cards on top of Hiram, on top of being able to play Storm, or not Storm, Storm, Rage On, and Wheel, and uh, any other cards that drew.
Yeah.
So,
So we have pulled up here the official Ravensburger post on their website of DisneyLorcana.com. What are our thoughts with it being immediate impact? I know some people have said in other TCGs they at least give a little bit of a buffer time. I know I've seen some pros and cons to each side, but what are we kind of thinking on the immediate impact of as of today? Because it is April 8th right now, and they were like, yep, he's gone as of today.
I think the fact that they don't have their own like events happening makes like sense on their side. Like they don't really care about the other stuff that's going on, and they want it done before store champs. I assume
yeah.
it matters a lot to us because we have our 1K this Sunday at our sponsor House of Cards. But I think from their perspective, it just makes sense. I wanted to bring up: do we like that they just banned it and not eroded it?
100%. My
Yeah,
camera's frozen, but uh, I think erratas are super unsustainable for physical trading card
it's
games.
confusing.
It's confusing. B it forces them to print the card in a different. Uh, I'll just turn off my camera. It forces them to print the card in a different way, so that, like, for example, one of the promos for this set is Bucky. Our last set was Bucky, so that
Yes.
they had a way to redistribute it without like forcing it into a structure deck, or uh, like putting it into a set as like a box stopper or something. So I think straight up bans are better than erratas, 100%.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That I think having too many erratas where you're having too many different versions of a card, it's just you have to almost do what they did with Bucky and make it to where no one even wants a place of a new Bucky because no one's
I
ever going
got
to play that
mine.
card. No one's ever going to play that card.
I've
Uh,
tried.
oh gosh. Yeah, so I think a ban was necessary. I know some people have said this kind of gets rid of the potential where they were thinking that uh, Lorcana was going to do a rotation instead of a ban list, and I know that's not mutually exclusive. Like you can still, I assume, do that. Um, I haven't experienced it, just being my first TCG that I've been in the competitive scene for. What are your guys' opinions on ban list versus rotation?
I did wonder how this would affect that for them or for the game going through, because it does make it seem like if they were going to rotate, they would just wait it out and have us grind it out. But the ban list makes it seem like they're going to go more that way. And that's what I originally wanted them to just come out with, like a 10, 15 card list and kind of really shake up the game at some point.
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily takes rotation off the table.
I agree.
I think that they saw a lot of they saw CCS, 4 of top 8 was red blue. They saw WCC first day, sure it was won by blue still, but like I think 8 of top 16 was either blue still or red blue. Then they saw this week the SSG charity case tournament, and again, like a massive top cut, heavily represented by Ruby Sapphire, and they were like, "All right, it's been greater than 50%, so we just need to deal with this now to make the game more sustainable." Because I think the introduction of dual color cards was like huge for deck building, and then they're like, "We're literally not getting that because red blue's kind of stifling the format." So, but I do still think that they have cause for rotation. I just don't think it's something that they're gonna do until they're at least 3 years into the game. I think you need enough sets to justify a rotation period. Because I
Yeah.
saw people saying like they wanted to rotate up to set 4, and I was like, show me a single deck besides inventors that you could play and is a concise deck off of 5, 6, and 7. Like, there's no way.
Yeah, we'd be going completely backwards in the complexity of decks that you can build.
Yeah, and like so many decks would like lose their identity. Like Amber still would just like not be a song deck anymore. Like, so I think there's still could be rotation. I just don't think it's going to be for a long time.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the thought of rotation just because I feel like you lose out on a lot of cards. I think ban list, in my opinion, which again people can take with a grain of salt, having not experienced it before in another TCG. Uh, but I think just taking out certain key cards that are impacting, being able to bend an ink combination to another style of play. Yeah, it's going to be sad if I lose, a whole new world or, a steel song card. But that's okay because I think if it ever gets to that point where that's limiting the creativity of the game and the advancement of other strategies, then yeah, I think that should go away. So obviously, as a Steel Song player, I'm super happy about these bans, but I do think that it needs to be something that's looked at in consistency. And I think also, do we feel it came down to a lack of playtesting too of these cards? Because I'd also feel like if the power level of these new cards were not so high and inkable too, and the way that they worked so nicely with each other, I feel like Hiram wouldn't be as bad because he was good. He was always good since set two, but he wasn't an enabler for all these other very broken strategies.
Uh, I feel like honestly, I feel like they tested like they said they did. I just don't know if the people they have testing are like I don't know if they're building the same decks that we're actually experiencing, because I'm sure there's somebody that's like, oh man, Hiram's like really good, and then they're like, oh, this Tomato is really good because it pops all these items, and then they're like, oh well, Hiram popping 2 popsicles, getting 4 cards, playing a Tamatoa, getting both of those back, drawing more cards. They're like, uh, I'm sure somebody probably like in their testing internally was like didn't discover that like loop, or they're trying to test so many things and their testing pool is small that they just like didn't get to put into practice how abusive it would be.
Yeah,
I
I
feel
think.
like
I'm sorry.
they
Go ahead.
would have had to thought that Hiram was a lot more answerable than he actually ended up being.
Yeah,
Because drawing 2 extra cards every turn like would eventually lead to a strategy that's kind of crazy. And I just assumed that I thought from when they did it, we would just get better removal for him in like other colors besides red, and that just never came.
yeah. I was gonna say, I think the biggest issue with it is that red is the only removal that is like super potent against it. Like Amber still's never gonna be able to get like 6 characters on board to strength it in one shot. Uh, I don't even know. Like
Just
you're
gonna
gonna have to
bounce it.
you have to Bruno. You're gonna have to Bruno it or kid it and then discard their hand. With bend, I guess is like the other option, but like it being an ETB also like doesn't
Mhm.
help that argument. So it's kind of like I think I was watching. I think his name is Mitch, the guy that just won the charity case tournament, and he
Hmm.
said they need to do like they need to do like 2 of 3 erratas to him to make him like not busted, and that's like make him a 1/5, make it where it's only ETB or when he quests, not one or the other, and then and or draw 1 instead of 2. And I was like, we just don't errata it, we just ban it. Because like if you have to do 2 of those 3 things, then that's like more than Bucky. You know what I mean? Like Bucky, if you just got rid of Ward, busted. If you made it a 3-drop, probably still good, but not nearly as playable. Uh, but I think I think I think Hiram was due for it.
Yeah, I always thought moving it down to 1 card or taking away the ETB was like more than fine, but I understand the reasoning for no errata. Do we think it was done solely because it's been crushing in tournaments and not for the more casual and their just complaints? Because I feel like that's what got rid of Bucky.
Yeah, I think this one, the first one with Bucky, was a lot of the complaints, and it was not fun for new players. Like
Yeah,
we
I think
saw plenty
they
of people that,
care a lot about that for a Disney
yeah,
game more than other card games.
yeah. I think this one was escalated because it was not fun to play against, and
Speak for yourself. I enjoyed playing against
play.
it.
We're not saying play as. Uh,
It was just how long it took and like how long their turns would be and how many extra actions Hiram would allow them to take, and it was just
yeah,
spiral and spiral.
and so it was bad for gameplay with how long the games would take. Like, I know these were untimed, so you can't like fault them for it, because given extra time, high level players are going to take extra time. But when it was DKP versus, gosh, I apologize. Forget who else it was on the
Maurice,
LCCC.
was it Mauricio or something? I don't
Uh,
know.
yeah,
The LCCCC.
yep. They were
That's
playing a
in my
Ruby Sapphire
panel.
Mirror, and that game one took over an hour. I'm pretty sure it was around an hour and 15 minutes for one game to
Yeah,
complete. And they got down to, I think DKP had like 2 cards left in deck or something like that. And it was just so grindy. There was a Visions played that uh, it was, I think, what, 5 minutes, six
it's like
minutes,
6 minutes. Yeah,
6 minute Visions decision, which,
Jesus.
yes, like I'm sure DKP, obviously, he's a very established, very good player, and I know he was using those 6 minutes to figure out, ratios, odds of what he needed to do to try to close out the game. But the fact that even with all those decisions, I don't think one game should ever take over an hour and 10 minutes, hour 15 minutes, when we're going to be having best of 3 in a lot of tournaments that are usually what, around 50, is it 55 normally for best of 3?
yeah,
50, 55.
55, 55.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, it's just too much and too grindy. And then when you're playing on the opposite side and you get to a certain point in the game where it's like, oh, they're going to draw so many cards, they're going to coil, ink, and wipe my whole board. nothing I ever play will stick because they have the ability to also draw with that engine of Hiram. So I think that was one way to hit it without directly hitting their removal options, because Coil Sisu is still going to be strong.
Yeah,
But
no,
getting
I
rid of
never. Finish your thoughts
I
on.
was going to say, getting rid of the ability to just have quote unquote infinite cards to ink every turn is going to impact how often they can utilize Coil.
And then I don't feel like the blue-red strategy is like unfair and shouldn't exist. It was just the way they're able to do it over and over again,
Yeah.
like you said, because Hiram enabled them to have a lot of cards. And that's why I feel like it's.
Yeah, because you still have like other options to ink multiple times in a turn that don't go negative on cards too terribly bad, where you're having to ink 2 from hand straight that turn. So there's still options. I don't know, Korey, you play the deck more than either of us, but personally, I don't think that it's going to be in any shape gone.
No, I don't think so. In my opinion, God, my camera just keeps freezing every time I go to talk.
It's okay. It still
But
look nice every time it freezes.
but in my opinion, I think it's just gonna be the burn list. I don't think that traditional red blue as we know it is gonna be competitively viable. I just, especially because with the hit to Hiram, the way that the meta shakes out, uh, it slows down red blue or ruby sapphire a lot. So it opens it up for amethyst steel to be even like less unchecked. It opens up uh, emerald steel to be way less unchecked. Amber steel is going to be very unchecked. Uh, I don't think, as much as people are hyping it up, ruby amethyst is going to be any like very. I think it'll have more representation for sure, but I don't think it'll. I still don't think it'll be like a crazy good deck. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. Uh, and all aggro strategies are kind of like right back on the table because the only deck that's going to be able to like quote unquote hold them in place is going to be amethyst or amber still now. I think where a lot of it falls back to just we're going to go back to discard and song, kind of like we were in Fort Worth meta esque. So I don't know. I think it's still going to be there, but it's going to be we're just going to hard lose to Amethyst still because the repeat is going to just eradicate the deck. Like there's just nothing you can do about it in the burn list. So
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the meta shakes up, because I do agree, and obviously I know I've voiced my pleasure with it, and but I even was talking, well, not talking unless you count it being to yourself. I was thinking the other day, I was like, you know what? Honestly, I would not really want to be in a meta as like an Amber Steel loyalist where everyone is on song, because one, I hate playing the mirror, um, and two, I just don't like being on the deck that is everyone is just jumping to. Uh, so yeah, I'm hoping that it's not going to be super dominant, and I think there are other ways that um, it can keep it in check, because there are some other decks that aren't bad into Steel Song. Uh, I always felt like Discard had options, which leads into a lot of people's fear that I've seen in a couple videos already today between work meetings, where people are afraid of Discard coming back full force and being the new big bad. And I don't like playing this game deck that you see at locals and tournaments. Do we think that Discard is going to be a major problem?
At the casual level, I think if that's what were worried about, because the people that played blue red because it was so strong will just play discard because it's now strong, and like that's just the kind of players they are. So then will lead to the same complaints. But I don't find green steel that oppressive, and they like I always felt like their best board was like easily breakable compared to like blue reds or songs.
Yeah,
Ye-
I agree.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think a lot of people will go back to it in anticipating it to be the best deck for sure. Uh,
Like
I
I put grab your swords in my rebuild song deck.
yeah, I was gonna say I think now that people like know how to beat it and like what cards they need to play to beat it, it's gonna be a lot harder for them to uh, basically assert themselves at the top of the format. Um, I also just think it's gonna have a hard time because like Red's just still gonna be around. Like Brawl and Coil, Little Sisu, just like even if you put that Diablo at Cove, I'm still getting it, baby. Like it's not living. So and then if they don't open like the standard like shift line combo, like they're just gonna look at my hand a bunch of times and see that Sisu's still there waiting. So I don't I think it's gonna be really good, but I don't think it's gonna be as oppressive as it was in the past.
Yeah. Just looking at that win rate matrix on Inkdex, I was kind of curious what decks get kind of unlocked by Ruby Sapphire kind of being taken down a peg and its oppressiveness and representation in the meta. Uh, to any specific decks that are outside
I
of
think
like Song?
I think it's great for like decks like Blurple. Like it's much more playable by the
Yeah,
Blurple fans. I'm very excited to play kind of last format green purple and not the whole Diablo discard shenanigan. I feel like that should be strong.
Yeah,
yeah.
I have. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I have no evidence to back this up or anything, or even initial reasons why it would be strong. But my first thought was like challenge, like which leads into the Blurple being a lot of character based deck. But like the Ruby
Red
Steel,
Steel,
yeah,
Ruby
Ruby Steel,
Steel.
can that become a contender because there's not this deck that
Can fight.
maybe there's not this deck that literally just
Yeah,
doesn't play cards for it to really utilize any of their
I
strategy.
I
They
don't
need
think Ruby's
Fortisphere.
still.
No,
No,
we can
They,
believe.
I
they needed Fortisphere.
no. I think the issue is that if we see a surgence of discard, Ruby Steel's biggest crux is that it doesn't have draw power. So if they're already discarding your cards,
The
where are you getting these
Queen.
cards from? You got to have it. Like you got to have the little one or in the shift one, and then them not discard your hand, and then there's also like what evasives are you playing early enough in there to answer Diablo? So it's like
Gee,
because the few lists that have been doing good aren't even on songs. Like there's no songs. So it's
fire
like
the cannons.
yeah, I mean my hot take is I think Green Steel is going to be great, but I think it's going to be the action Smee loop deck, not discard, because that inherently plays fire the cannons. So it's going to have answers for the Diablo, as it'll have answers for one drop Cindy. You can uh, quest and request Smee multiple times in one turn by using those actions, and then you still play things like and Dock and Hypnotize, like draw and then like hypnotize to like limit your opponent's hand actions. So I think that deck will actually have some legs now because everything in that deck's small besides like Space Pirate Pete if you get that far into the deck. So
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how not just how Ruby Sapphire and any other Sapphire deck that use Hiram is affected, but the other decks because they're not having to respond to that being expected in any given tournament like we have now. Yeah, I'm excited for our 1K that we have, hopefully scaling up, and hopefully people are still excited for it this coming Sunday at House of Cards in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Shout out to our sponsor.
I think more people are excited for it now.
I do too.
So many people have messaged and been like, "Are you guys enforcing the ban?" And we're like, "Yes." And they're like, "Cool. I'm even 10 times more excited now." And I was like, "Good. Tell everybody. More people that show up, the better the pricing is." So
yeah, pretty sure. I know Bivens had asked in one of the chats I was in. I mentioned us having a 1K, and he was like, "Oh yeah, what time is that at this weekend?" And I was like, "I'm pretty sure it's at 1 p.m. start time." And I did verify that was correct, and I didn't give him wrong information to show up late. Like, haha, no Bivens, easy win. No. So yeah, he might be there. I know he usually shows up to the House of Cards. It's kind of over in his turf. But yeah, I'm hoping that I'm able to go. I keep forgetting that I am not going, and I get like excited, and I'm like talking about what like I'm trying to mess with my deck and whatnot, and then I'm like, oh wait, I'm not going as of right now. Just hoping, but
yeah, I think there's bigger. I think the big thing is, do you want to go over the like Q&A things from the Discord with the pin messages? Because there was a lot in there to like kind of digest too. I think the biggest thing we got from that was I wasn't even an answer from what's gosh, I can't remember, Steve Warner. I think it was the communications guy, Greg Tito. He said that he's only in week 5 of his position, but soon they plan on opening like a more consistent and strong means of communications with the community, which I think a lot of people would appreciate and enjoy. I think another big one was that a lot of people were asking if they think if they would potentially ever unban either of the cards, and they said as of right now, no. They aren't considering unbanning cards, but everything is subject to change as the game develops and more and more stuff is released.
yeah. Let's see. There's not really a good way to pull up the pinned comments in there.
Yeah, you just click in the top right where it says pinned messages.
Yeah, it shows up so small though.
Yeah, just click on jump, and then it takes you to the question and answer.
Let's see. Share.
There is no answers to questions about DLCs or nationals or worlds.
Unfortunately,
They did say though that they did not think that this format would be contingent or like would be a good entertaining format for worlds. So that did play a part in the decision making.
I knew it was dog.
All right, I went to
Do
share.
either of you have any concern that Sapphire Steel will just be very strong?
It would be very strong.
Yeah.
I think it is already strong. Obviously, I think the hit to Hiram and Fortisphere slows the deck down a little bit, but because they don't have like the insane.
They just return to wheeling and kind
Yeah.
of focus more on aerial time.
I think it's either. I think they go one of two ways. I think we either see a heavy Kiwi esque Harlan Sweet style list, or we see like like older style wheel, grab your swords, Cogsworth deck. Just like the mid range control version of it. I feel like is probably going to be the more consistent one, especially now that like Ruby Sapphire has slowed down a lot, and
I'm very
it's
excited to see what a lamb chops list will look like now.
for sure.
Yeah, his always looks very.
I hate his list. They drive me crazy.
Fiend into the
Yeah, there are
lab.
definitely like a lot of
One
one-ofs.
Monsieur, one Judy.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. A lot of people talking about.
I wasn't even playing for Fortispheres to begin with.
Yeah, I don't think Sapphire Steel will be a problem. I think they'll still live on, and I think be pretty competitive. Yeah, I'm trying to get.
I think the biggest thing is they have so many cards with Ward.
Yeah, that is
I was
rough.
just thinking if they go more to like Oswald, be back to that, and just try and get free dimes and just dime area will be annoying.
Yeah.
There it goes. All right, so here we're in the official Disney Lorcana TCG Discord. So we're in that April 8th Steve Warner Q&A section here. I'm looking at some pinned messages. Let's see. A lot of memes and GIFs being posted. So at least we know Ravensburg has a sense of humor. I think this was in question about what the playtesting process looks like, how much game time goes into testing before deciding on a ban. And it's just a everything on fire meme there. Let's see.
625. Once again, the card.
What's that? Oh, yeah.
625.
He needs to get a card. Let's see. Let's look at some of these.
Some of these questions were just like absurd questions. Like you could, like obviously it's an open Q&A, and to be politically correct, there's no such thing as a dumb question. But there were a lot of dumb questions in here. It's just like, and a lot of like people regurgitating the same question.
Yeah, naturally there'll be a bunch of people. Yeah, because I'm a bit confused by the statement about lack of interaction. Hiram's card draw is often discarded by Emerald. He can be hit with move damage and buffed rush characters from Amethyst. Ruby has a plethora of answers. Understood the interaction issue with awarded Bucky, but this seems different. And someone put the comment of ETB as a reaction. Yeah, I think some of this is maybe a lack of understanding in the competitive scene too. Just how impactful that is.
Yeah.
Because yeah, like 4 cards is a bit much before you can really deal with them. Normally counteract discard completely with just getting 1 extra card. So there's just limited counterplay.
Yeah, last format, that's why I would not play Amethyst Steel, because I was like, the game plan is just let Hiram draw 4 cards, and everyone would be like, yeah, it's okay. And I was like, that is not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. So a lot of what they had talked about was kind of being the going back to the ink color identity. So someone had asked, you had mentioned that items in steel were causing out of identity interactions that were too consistent, mainly being that, steel isn't necessarily the big card draw item deck for the most part.
It's mostly that it wasn't an item deck.
Yeah.
Like, and so they didn't like that for Sapphire Steel. It was that the main build of the deck that was seeing success was like Oswald item spam. I think they intended Oswald to be used in Sapphire, and that's why they give him a lot of cards that are like, get, if you have an X item in play, get this effect. If you have more items in play, get that effect. And still, like, isn't supposed to do that. So they were like, Fortisphere was kind of like, I would say, like, miscolored in the miscolored as a steel card. They felt like it was out of place.
Yeah, and I think another thing that I kind of agreed.
Discard one.
I agreed with as far as not only the identity being items, so getting rid of Fortisphere over Popsicle, but the impact that the ripple effect that Popsicle would have as well of you see the Nick Wild actually has a specific interaction with Popsicle, so then that card absolutely just becomes useless. Its only ability that it doesn't even see play anyway no longer has an ability at that point. And then also the Ruby Sapphire Bell that is in the new set. Some people mentioned the interaction where you can't obviously play that Ruby Sapphire Bell with Fortisphere. So Popsicle is really your main item to get the one drop bell online to then hopefully shift into that big bomb of a bell. So I do see like the play line being significantly impacted for a card that already. I know it saw some competitive play, but it's not the kind of ideal build.
Yeah.
So I do see the ripple effect, whereas Fortisphere will have less of one. When specifically impacting cards that don't need to catch a stray.
It's also like if you ban Pop and Hiram, like I said, like the Bell suffers, the new Toa suffers, old Toa suffers. Like there's just so many blue cards that like go to teetering on unplayable, or Sapphire cards that go to teetering on unplayable, that it's not healthy for like the color as a whole.
Yeah. Let's see. There's some other questions. Some of these, it looks like the questions have been, I'm guessing, removed. Let's see. Yeah, that's another redundant question. Another message cannot be loaded. Let's see.
Yeah.
So I guess this is one to say that core constructed is only required by stores during a set championship. So do we think that we will see any stores? So technically, like our 1K this weekend, we wouldn't have to honor the ban. Do we feel like that would be at all common, or
Not at all.
I feel like any tournament that's going to be played is going to play with the rules of set champs, DLCs, worlds win, uh, just to attract people because most people are not going to want to play in a format that is not going to be played competitively.
Yeah. I don't see any stores being like, we know these cards are banned, but you can go ahead and use them. So
They should be
exactly.
legal in pods.
And just pods.
Yeah. You can still play the cards.
Let's see. Looks like they'll be updating the app.
That the Monsters Inc. one was he kept using that one to respond to people asking if they were gonna keep an eye on the meta, because he kept saying, well, we'll keep an eye on the meta to see if any other like basically degenerate things are taking place, because everybody kept bringing up Diablo, and he was like, you can see, you actually kind of see here in Malferon right to the left of the meme. It was like the question wasn't if Diablo had answers; it's the fun element, because one of his responses was there's enough answers in the game for Diablo that they haven't deemed it to be degenerate or abusive. Uh, and that's kind of like the response you're seeing there. And then he's responded with that, and it's like, we're always watching Mike Wazowski, as like they're kind of keeping an eye out to see if it does get to the point where they feel like they need to take action against the discard strategy, they will.
Yeah, I think that's good to know that they are always watching. I think it's definitely a slippery slope as far as getting too many bands in there, but I think that as long as it's done strategically, which I think this one overall will have a positive impact on the game overall.
Yeah, that one was somebody saying that we had to deal with Ruby Amethyst for like 6 full sets, and they never touched any card in that deck, and that the fact that it won two nationals They won both nationals or something like that, but they felt the need to hit Sapphire while that deck went unchecked for so long. And that's kind of the response you see here. It was a strong deck, but there were decks that people found to play well against it. Whereas, like, right now, 50% of player base is playing some sort of Sapphire X deck. And that's something that they didn't want to see in the game. They wanted more diversity.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it was the European champion Continentals. Was that the one where in the finals it was Emerald Amethyst against Ruby Amethyst, if I'm not mistaken? And for all intents and purposes, the Emerald Amethyst player should have won, but misplayed and cost him the match. I never found that Ruby Amethyst was. I mean, that everyone. I feel like we always talked about is it's the safe deck that doesn't really have a bad matchup. It didn't have a matchup that it just like 110% win rate against another deck. It was just a solid deck, and
it was the most consistent deck because pretty much
100%.
Every card in it was like a 4 of.
Yeah. You just you wouldn't lose to off meta stuff playing Ruby Amethyst, and that's where the turn Dodge and Medusa comes into play. Just took away your ability to play all those other decks, which I guess goes against it's not fun.
Yeah. Yeah, they're talking about welcoming experience for new players.
Yeah, that was a hard one during the Bucky discard format. Was somebody would show up that was new, and everybody was like, "I hope they don't get paired into discard."
Yeah. Because there were some people I know at one of the shops I went to that kind of stopped coming and was like, "No, I'm not playing this game anymore. Like, it's just not fun at all." Which I completely get because when you get your hand ripped out by turn 3 and you're just there was a point where, and try not to be too salty or anything, but there were times where I would just be sitting back in my chair because I'm like, pull the top card of my deck up. It's either being played or it's ink, and and then pass turn. So it wasn't really fun for the game. Let's see, any other notable comments that anyone has kind of seen here? Close tabs on the events and reports. Let's see. We don't view this as an emergency ban. We wanted to be clear across all of events immediately. We look at all the things, meaning how much the deck is played, how much is winning. So all these are kind of the answers that we kind of already expected.
Yeah.
How will they handle this in the other languages?
They said it won't be enforced in the other languages at this time, but I would just assume that they would be okay, going into set 7, this card is gonna be banned. So it'll probably affect sales of this set because I feel like a lot of the hype around Tamatoa and this new set was the fact that it was going to be so good in all of these item decks. But I don't know if it'll have with the way their product is set up, I don't know if it'll be as bad as it is probably going to react here.
How much is the Tamatoa enchanted right now?
Probably still 400.
Let's find out together.
I'm looking.
Oh, I got it on the stream.
I know the regular, it's 380. Regular Tamatoa is down to 48. It was pushing up to 58 earlier. I think the biggest loser is right now is Scrooge. Scrooge went from being a $24, $25 card to $15.
Oh my, Tamatoa. Oh my gosh, I'm having a stroke.
Get cooked. Look at Hiram, the #1 search result. RIP.
Foil Hiram.
Foil Hiram owners in shambles.
I know, I do feel bad for people that.
Yeah, look at that chart. Oh.
Oh my gosh, it was 32.
Yeah, $32 down to now you get a playset for $14 a piece. Ugh.
What a ripoff.
The resident Sapphire
Oh,
hater.
it's TAMA. Got him crashing out. Tamatoa, happy as a clam.
Yeah, see, they were pushing up to 60, and then you scroll down, you can see they're like 50. Some, I think, sure, some probably sold. Yeah, see, low sale price, 40 to 39, 60 right there. So $35 for like 3 LPs. These are all like sales from today.
Yeah,
So
I
it
saw a bunch of people
looks like people are
uploading.
still playing it, still picking it up, but it's definitely a little bit slower.
And what was it that you guys were looking up earlier? Doc?
Yeah, Doc is.
Is it Bolt
This is
Knight?
crazy. Yeah, this is crazy. This is actual insanity.
That's
There's
a
some.
moderately
There's
played card.
there's some listed now.
Oh no.
3 listed. $40. It's
Rich.
crazy.
Yeah, what's
Yeah.
that?
That's why
Shimmering
Braden
Skull.
played a foil doc against me yesterday.
And then
he's
the
rich.
other big winner that I guess because people are anticipating is Diablo. I'm pretty sure it went from like 26 to like $40. I don't know what the enchanted is, but yeah.
Oh
See,
yeah, sorry, 42. To the moon.
the enchanted's probably crazy right now too. Shout out to Traverse Tavern. He just picked up his playset for.
Oh, I saw that. I mean, that's still pretty cheap.
There's 8 of them?
8 of them.
Bro,
That's gotta
I'm
be
not the
fake.
cop.
Hey,
They got 10,000 plus sales. World class
All right,
sales.
anyone in here? This isn't the Market Watch, but
Like, tell
go
us
pick
this
these up.
isn't live, right? We're not going to upload this right away.
But
adds 8 to the card.
No,
Come on, Emily, my wife. I'm investing.
But I think if the hype is real for Emerald Steel, I think this definitely has a lot of room to go up. I might have to cop a playset real quick. But yeah, I think overall, I think a lot of people are excited for the banned cards. Like, I won't say list because it's really 2 cards. I think the banned cards. I think the impact to the meta is going to be make the game a lot more enjoyable for a lot of people. I think the only thing people are really worried about now is that Emerald Steel discard or Emerald Amethyst discard, depending on which list they kind of like end up leaning towards.
Or Emerald Amber.
Emerald Amber discard could be real too. But I think that's something we just kind of have to let the meta refigure itself out.
Yeah, I think it'll be also important for even our event that's Sunday, just in case there are people in the community that, are under a rock or anything and don't know about this. It might be nice to mention at the beginning of the tournament, like, hey,
we'll have deck checks
at the beginning of the tournament.
Probably. Usually, you do a couple every round, right?
Well, I know Dragon Sword does deck checks like before the event sometimes, and the worst thing I would want is someone that came to an event and like, I built Ruby Sapphire, I'm ready to win some tournaments, and then they enter and then finds out they play a Hiram on 4, and you're just like, oh, that card's banned. Judge.
Judge.
I have a PTSD. I need to go home.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm sure they'll make some announcement about it.
Yeah.
But all in all, I think at the end of the day, myself as a Ruby Sapphire enjoyer, even I this week was like, yeah, it's probably time for Hiram to go because like it's just I think it's probably one of the best comeback cards in the game. Just like especially if you're playing in any sort of steel matchup besides Ruby Steel, You just know they're not going to be able to answer it anytime soon, and it just draws 4 cards at least, and it's a beautiful thing for me, but not for my opponent. So
Yeah, and you get to keep your oppressive removal, which, while obviously I will be like, man, it really sucks to have everything removed all the time. That's an aspect of TCGs, and I think it was good to leave the identity there in the Ruby Sapphire with Coil and uh, I don't even want to say Coil and Sisu. I just struggle even trying to support it, but no, I
Stare
think it's good.
Mountains.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts, Matt?
No, happy day, good day.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, to anyone watching this, well, if you're watching this here this week, definitely come out if you're in the North Carolina area, specifically near Winston-Salem. It'll be a great time having that 1K at House of Cards. Otherwise, hope everyone enjoys the band.
Give us your thoughts about the band in the comments. We'll probably be in there communicating with you because we're all kind of a lot of us are from other TCGs, but we kind of like want to see where people are going with deck building and creativity. So if you have any fun ideas you're thinking up, throw them in the comments. Put them up in our Discord.
Yep. Everything will be linked below. Join the Discord. You can talk with us in there. We'd love to have you in there.